Four final questions. We'll have some fun with these as we wrap things up. Ashley does great research for me, so she digs on some stuff.
Okay.
So what I'm seeing here is that you called George Jetson the best character representation of you. Can you explain that? Because I love that. Who did not grow up loving George Jetson? And by the way, since we're somewhat close in age, doesn't it feel like every day we're getting closer to the Jetsons?
I think I mentioned that in an interview one time.
She does deep research.
She does deep research. Yeah. And the funny thing is, then a friend of my wife's actually gave her a George Jetson t-shirt to give me after that. I think my George Jetson comment was that I really just wanted a car that wrapped up into a briefcase. Yeah. It was more about that. Yeah, he was a businessman. He was a good dad. He was an attentive husband. Yeah. Yeah.
I say maybe a combination of George Jetson mixing a little Inspector Gadget. How about that?
See, I kind of, yeah. We're just a few prosthetic innovations away from me being part Inspector Gadget. I mean, we need this robot leg to be able to reach across the street and grab something. Yeah.
You got a last name that sounds like it's made for a TV character or something like that too. It's a unique name. Yeah. All right. Second question, as we round the bases, let's go a little bit of music here. I was reading that you've got a Led Zeppelin tattoo on your arm and that Madonna was your first celebrity crush. So we're talking about sort of two different worlds right there.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, maybe it says a lot about your diverse taste in music. I am looking right now at the Led Zeppelin tattoo and Led Zeppelin, Madonna, and maybe everything in between. I don't know.
Yeah. So starting with Madonna, if we're going in chronological order, I just was Madonna becoming like a superstar was like, I think at the age where I don't know the exact year, it was mid 80s, where I was like a little kid, but like old enough to have a crush, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, I just was all about her. So yes, I was definitely had a crush on young 80s borderline era.
Lucky Star.
Lucky dude. And those early Madonna records hold up, by the way, as a adult musician now. Mm-hmm. But yes, so I was definitely first celebrity crush. And yeah, after the first tour I did, this is my very early, I was 22. Led Zeppelin's my favorite band of all time. John Bonham's my favorite drummer, my favorite musician of all time, Led Zeppelin's drummer. Their fourth album, they had these like 4 symbols that represented them. And this was the drummer symbol. And I was like, I know there's like probably 1 million dudes that have this. I don't care. I love John Bonham. So yeah, I went and got the tattoo after the first tour. And then I actually was I was too nervous to show it to him because I had a coat on or something, but I met John Paul Jones a couple of years ago, Led Zeppelin's bass player. Oddly enough, I met John Paul Jones and Stuart Copeland, my other favorite drummers, the drummer for the Police, talking to each other in the corner of a room at the same time. And I wouldn't say I really connected with them, but they were very nice and very gracious. And I was able to just kind of gush about how much both of them meant to me. It was like wild that like they were just standing there together. Anyway, yeah.
That's got to be better than like if I were to meet them, I'd be like, I love your music, man. And then I wouldn't know what to say. At least you could talk about drumming.
I didn't say much more than I love your music. Yeah. I just was like, oh, what do I ask them? I mean, I met Paul McCartney once, I'm not trying to be name droppy, but that was very, very short and sweet. And I knew it was likely to happen for like a couple of weeks. And so I was like, what do I say to him? What do I say to Paul McCartney? And not like, what do I say to him that no one else has ever said to him? That doesn't matter. One time, quick story. One time, jazz era, college, KU Jazz group. We played at the Lead Center. It was the KU Jazz Festival. This is probably 1996. And my group, my combo played, and that was great. And then Bela Fleck and the Flecktones played. And I talked to everybody in the band. And I was waiting around like all night. At the very end of the night, like way after everybody left, Bela Fleck comes out because I just wanted to tell him I thought he was great, And he could tell I was nervous. And I said, "Hey, I'm sure you've heard this from 1,000 people tonight, but I just wanted to say, I just thought you were so, so great. I love the show so much." And he was like, he kind of interrupted me. He was like, "I haven't heard it from you."
Oh, that's nice.
That was a big lesson that I stick with. So I don't care if Paul McCartney or, Stuart Copeland, anybody has heard it all, they haven't heard it from me. So yeah, with Paul, it was very short. I said, "It is a true pleasure to meet you." And he immediately shortened our names. I was with Sudeikis. It was at SNL. He was introduced to Jason. This is Jason Sudeikis. He's on the show. Hello, Jace. Immediately shortened his name. "Hey, this is my buddy Billy. Bill, hello." Like immediately nicknamed us. So yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. All right, I can go into Chris Farley mode about the Chris Farley, Paul McCartney. That was before your time, before your experience, I should say, not before your time.
Yeah.
But anytime I ever hear something like, "Hey, remember that time when," it doesn't matter what it's about, like pulling the Chris Farley right there, the Chris Farley, Paul McCartney. Okay, third question as we round the bases: how religious of an experience, if that's the way to call it, was your tour of Abbey Road Studio in London?
Oh, it was very, very special. Yeah, great question. Again, that was the same trip where I met McCartney, not McCartney, same guy responsible for it, but the same trip where I met John Paul Jones and Stuart Copeland. My wife and I were over visiting Jason in London when he was working on season 3 of Ted Lasso. And we had gone to we were going to this Taylor Hawkins tribute show at Wembley Stadium, the Foo Fighters drummer that passed away. That's where I met John Paul Jones and Stuart Copeland. But the day before, we got this tour thanks to Tom Howe, who was who's a brilliant musician, composer, and a total sweetheart of a dude, who is the composer for Ted Lasso. And so he had arranged this tour of Abbey Road. Yeah. So it was my wife and I and Jason and Brendan Hunt and Joe Kelly, the third creator of Ted Lasso, and our buddy Ed Goodman, again, comedy sports friend since 1995. It was incredible, dude. It was absolutely incredible. All the things in there. My wife and Brendan both messed with it. Played the Lady Madonna piano. It's really interesting sounding piano. And when we went to Studio B or 2, I think it's Studio 2, I can't remember. The Beatles fans are screaming right now. It's 2, it's B. Anyway, where the Beatles made all their records, I basically interrupted our guide, the woman that worked there, and I was like, "I'm sorry, where did Ringo set up?" And she was like, "Right over there." And I just walked over into the corner and just stood there. It was incredible. I mean, the Beatles to me and to many people are the most important, group of musicians of all time. And, at minimum, the most important rock and roll band of all time, and wrote the book, in my opinion. And so, yeah, it definitely had a very, religious or spiritual, just incredibly special. It was incredible. You can't just like sign up for a tour of that place. So I felt very, very, she talked about how, Paul lives nearby. And so he'll just pop in all the time. You know what I mean? And is always trying to buy gear from there. Like he's tried to buy, and they just won't sell it to him. Like, no, it stays here. Like he's trying to buy that piano and anyway, crazy.
Super cool. Amazing. Last question, my walk off. You've done so much in life. You got so much more to do. Great that you met all these cool people and great friends, and it's all come together so beautifully to make an impact. By the way, if my dates are right on this, and we're running this here in April, coming up on 8 years sober. I mean, you've put so much work into yourself and to others, and I'm just curious, as the walk off, and with Steps of Faith, where do you want it to go? What's the ultimate for you?
The ultimate for Steps of Faith?
Yeah, and your work.
Yeah. Well, 11 years into Steps of Faith, it's just the beginning. I had this kind of notion about 6 months into doing this job where I was like, okay, this is very hard. Now, I will say in a lot of ways it's way easier, but there's just new things about the job that are hard, right? But at that time, just trying to build something out of nothing, trying to raise money, it's very hard. So I felt then that I understood that my mission for this job, what I needed to do was to build it to where it would survive and thrive without me. And we're getting there. I love doing it. I'm not in a rush to leave. But ultimately, Steps of Faith is just the beginning. I have a lot going back to we can end the way we began. You know, there's a lot of work to do for amputees and really disabled rights in general. Now, disability is a large umbrella, right? I'm going to speak to my lane as a man who's lost a limb. Again, sticking with things I know the best, right? And so I just want to help people to know more, to destigmatize, disability, destigmatize losing a limb. I mean, what a crazy, terrible thing. I mean, even the term life or limb, you know what I mean? It's like, I didn't lose my life. I lost a limb and kind of gained more than I lost in a lot of ways, right? So I want, I want more representation in all forms of the media for people that have lost a limb. It's not just veterans and children. Veterans are half of 1% of the amputee population. That's not a negative thing to say about veterans. That's good. It's just we shine a big light on the military in this country. But 500 people lose a limb every day in America. There's less than 2,000 people that have lost a limb in combat since 2001, 9/11, 2001, right? So it's a really, really small population. So it's really just continuing to, eventually one day I will leave as the CEO of Steps of Faith and hopefully just join the board, and maybe we're still doing fun things like Thundergong, but really the work is just beginning, and I just want to spread the word about the importance of what we're doing. And unfortunately, right now it's a problem that's not going away anytime soon. And in the meantime, I'm also going to hopefully try to work to create a world where we don't need to exist. If losing the limb is a nightmare enough, you then shouldn't have to deal with the evil, greedy mess that is the health, quote unquote, care system in this country in order to just pay for a leg so that you can get back to work and take care of your family. So, there's some legislative advocacy in there a little bit as well that I try to do every year just to try to bring common sense to the issue. But yeah, just keep going, man.
April is Limb Loss Awareness Month. I think the official title is Limb Loss and Limb Difference Awareness Month. People can make a difference, at least just by checking out the information. You can go to stepsoffaithfoundation.org, thundergong.org. And while you're at it, go to summerbreezekc.com too, because who doesn't need a little bit of yacht rock and a little bit of music? What will you guys be playing this summer?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, 15th anniversary show for Summer Breeze, May 4th, outside at Knuckleheads. 15th anniversary, making smooth music for a long time. It's been a really long, fun, smooth trip with that band.
So I'm looking right now, just because selfishly, yeah, of course I got a game that night, but that's the way. I'll get there. There'll
be more. There'll be more. I'll tell you about other shows. Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah.
I would love to see it. She's going to cut that out right now. Thank you, Colleen. Anyway, Billy, thanks so much for spending time, for telling your story, for inspiring others, and all of the great work. And I'm proud to have had the chance to start to get to know you a little bit. We'll do lunch again and all that good stuff. But thanks for spending time on the podcast.
Man, it's an honor to be a guest, and I appreciate the opportunity to hang out.